Thank you for joining us. Our guests today are Professor George Einstein of USAT and Dr. Orien Tulp, the President of USAT, the British West Indies-based University of Science, Arts and Technology. It is this institution from which dozens of physicians graduate successfully, many from humble beginnings or from various nations, including the United States. Regardless of race or gender or culture, USAT has created a program of superior excellence and in training physicians and other professionals to meet the demands of scientific and medical needs in this global technological environment. Professor Einstein and Dr. Tulp will tell us more about these achievements following these messages. With us now is Dr. Orien Tulp, President of USAT, the University of Science, Arts and Technology, Montserrat. Pleasure and honor to have you back on the show.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be back.
So many things are happening in education worldwide, and of course, in your part of the world, you do classes in Miami, Denver, and Montserrat. What's new with USAT?
USAT is now fully accredited in the United Kingdom. We're now preparing for our 2014 commencement, which will be held right here in Miami. We expect to graduate more than 100 students, which is more than any other Caribbean school, just by the way. And we'll have this ceremony. We want family to come. It's a great opportunity, a great experience, and it enables those that graduate to experience closure because now it's another chapter of their career.
And USAT is contributing so effectively in the lives and careers of many people in this part of the world.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. We have a lot of physicians now in the state of Florida that are summer practicing. Many more are in residency in their specialty training. It's moving ahead very quickly and very rapidly. We're now the fastest, as near as I can see, we are the fastest growing medical school in the Caribbean.
So the University of Science, Arts and Technology also is expanding into other programs, I understand. Tell us of these.
Yes, we are. We have a new program we intend to start by September. This will be medical acupuncture, designed for physicians, licensed physicians that wish to add that. We're going to create a unique new program which will lead to a Master of Science in Medical Acupuncture. That'll be conducted in our Miami campus to start with, and probably extend that into some of the other campuses as well as time goes along. This is a course in which we'll train physicians, licensed physicians, to incorporate acupuncture into their medical practice. And we've already had a lot of interest from Europe for Europeans to come and take this course. It should be very, very useful and very effective, and that would be one of the newer programs that we want to start.
Certainly very interesting.
Yeah.
Another area of great concern, greater than ever, is that of sterilization. I understand that USAT is also going to offer new programs in the need to purify and sterilize equipment.
Well, we are one of the only, I think we are the only medical school in North America that includes the field of biophotonics in the academic program. And biophotonics is a unique way to cure infectious diseases. It's all natural in the sense that it uses ultraviolet radiation. It will cure such things as MERS and antimicrobial resistant organisms of all sorts, as well as those that aren't resistant. And we have a lot of research going on in that area. We've just presented one paper at a national conference in San Diego in this area. With Professor Einstein, who's heading up that part. He is one of the world authorities in biophotonics and infectious diseases, and he's been working on this proposal for many, many years. It's working out very well. It's a fairly simple, straightforward technique. It's easily incorporated into most medical practices, and it minimizes, it decreases the need to rely on antibiotics. Antimicrobials, because it bypasses that step. It's interesting that biophotonics used to be used to treat infections before the development of antibiotics. And now that we've gone through the gamut of antibiotics, it's time to bring it back.
Fascinating.
Yes.
Another area is USAT is also getting involved more in the area of education and multimedia, an area of particular interest to me.
We are indeed. We are indeed. One of the additional items on the agenda for this coming year is establish a multimedia program leading to an appropriate academic degree with that. It could be up to and including the PhD. We have the largest, to the best of my knowledge, we have the largest MD PhD program in North America right now, with about 100 students in the joint double degree program.
Very impressive.
And we have, this past week we had 4 PhD thesis defenses, and they were just outstanding.
Now in your Montserrat base, I understand that there's an expansion going on there as well.
There is. We have a proposal for redevelopment of the campus with new classrooms, a private hospital, a teaching hospital, and more resources on the island. With the help of our IT department, we have established this month, we'll put the finishing touches on our own satellite communications from the campus. Again, the only Caribbean school that will have established their own satellite communications so that students have greater access to the internet, greater access to lectures and discussions from far away. They'll be able to, on the campus, we'll have capacity for probably up to about 1,000 laptops simultaneously, all surfing the net at the same time. It's a remarkable system, and it will be finished before the end of the month.
Before we conclude, sir, please share with our audience your plans for the future.
Well, the university is continuing to expand. Our goal is to have twice as many students each succeeding year. We've doubled our student enrollments each year for the past 5 years, and that in itself is pretty remarkable in the current economic climate. We are in the process of affiliating with some additional North American universities, and that will also give us a much larger student base than we have now, as we're expanding up into the Northeast Corridor and other areas of the country with our satellite campuses, our satellite programs. They've been very successful, and one of the most important things about these satellite programs are all developed around the concept that you can continue to work and study at the same time. So most of them hold full-time employment, and they're able to complete the medical degree in oftentimes a little bit less time than it would take for a traditional medical university, medical school to accomplish. They score better on the exams because we coach them through the exams, we guide them through the exams in a very targeted system that they cannot fail, and most of the, very few, it's rare that we have a failure on that exam, very rare. We have the highest pass rate, higher than even U.S. medical schools. This year and last year, our residency placement rate at the end of the year, when they graduate with the MD degree, they have to go to residency specialty training. The average for U.S. schools was 93%. We scored 100% 2 years in a row. That's pretty commendable.
This certainly is most commendable, very inspiring, and a pleasure having you on the show again, sir.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'll be right back. With us now is Professor George Einstein of the Einstein Institute at USAT. A pleasure and honor to have you back on the show, sir.
Pleasure to meet you again.
We live in such a changing world where technology is advancing and medical research is advancing. And of course, many of the things you've been doing for so many years are now coming into the forefront of worldwide interest. Tell our audience about some of the projects that you're most interested in at this time.
It is extremely crucial moment in my research with my background, especially in biophotonics, application biophotonics in medicine, that today, when I have last week 4 defense PhD dissertations, and come to my attention MERS, when I treat MRSA, when I treat before HIV, hepatitis C in one and separate. Today, we are facing new threat to the world of MERS. And also, still, another could be new wave of anthrax. Very, very dangerous time. And that is, we are ready with my background to really defend MERS and anthrax, because I closely to work with, not only by myself, but with other group in America, when we try to build strong defense system in biological warfare. Today, when we find out that MERS is another threat, and absolutely, we don't have, a lot of scientists do not have clue to treat MERS by drugs, medicine. My model of treatment and success of treatment is to use the triple system, matrix system, to succeed treatment. And that here on the poster, you can see also that I apply to treat HIV hepatitis C patient, apply the biophysical and biochemical and psychoimmunostimulation systems.
Professor, behind you is this poster on integrated biophotonics. Explain what this is, please.
Yes, human nature has nature, biophysical, biochemical nature. That means biophysical is bioelectrical nature. Neurons have bioelectrical nature, biomagnetic nature. And chemicals, all chemical reactions have biochemical nature. And that's why the two elements are very important in the body, in the physiology of cell. As well, still is another part of psychoimmunostimulation. There's a third element of our body, and that the manager of this system, psychoimmunostimulation, is brain.
Let's dwell on that a little. Psychoimmune stimulation. Explain, please.
Yes. Our system, defense system, our body against infections, is by immune system. And the immune system, like I mentioned, need to communicate, need to be coherence of the natural, bioelectrical nature, chemical nature, and psychoimmunostimulation. That means brain. Brain has hundreds, millions neurons, and the neurons manage all our system, cell system. We have average 30 trillion cells. And right now, the manager of the 30 trillion cells, all the organs, is brain. And that many times doctors not ask how is your life, how is your lifestyle, how is your family. This affects the brain and affect all the immune system.
Sir, how is your model implemented in medical practice?
I give you example. HIV, hepatitis C, is unusual that patient has two infections overlap in the body. Conventional medicine has great problem to treat at the same time two overlap infections, HIV, hepatitis C. Because if they apply cocktail HIV, that not able to manage hepatitis C interferon. And that is create chaos. My method, by application of the three elements, biophysical, biochemical, and psychoinstillation, I'm the winner. And I have patients who I monitor by 10 years with my medical doctor, hematologist. And he was drugless by conventional medicine by 10 years. I treated him in 2001, and we checked him 2011, and he was still. First 5 years, and immunologist was so, and a hematologist was so excited. He couldn't believe it in the beginning that it could be treated this way, this biophotonics. And he monitored him another 5 years. That is Dr. Echevarria. And he, when I met him last year, he gave me the report that he monitored him another 5 years.
Tell us more about the biophysical.
The biophysical therapy has different approach, different nature. First, I use quantum photonic energy, photons energy, inject photons energy to the blood, and withdraw the blood, next irradiate the blood by quantum photonic energy, but it is need to be calculated. This is need to be done in vitro and in vivo. And next, re-inject to the body. And I create a vaccine effect. That's why we are not succeed a treatment, and we don't have a vaccine for infectious, for HIV, hepatitis C. Up to date, since Dr. Gallo, who I personally met him, since '82, I, in this case, I stimulate the immune system, and I create chain reaction in the body. This is a complicated process, but it works very well, and has just physics, biophysics nature. Because, like I said, human body, human cell has biophysical and biochemical.
Tell us about the biochemical.
Very interesting question. Thank you for the question. Usually, chemists ignore, say, photons is byproduct by their giving the drug. I, as physicist, say, no, photons stimulate all the reactions, boosting reactions, and that's why you succeed. If HIV virus and patient has HIV, he need to take the cocktail all his life to this. I can lowering the viral load to undetectable 7 to 10 treatment. HIV easier to treat than hepatitis C.
Why would it be easier to treat HIV rather than hepatitis?
Extremely important question. Hepatitis C virus, HIV virus, cannot live out of the body, human body. In 2001, when I started my serious research on my Einstein matrix and create apparatus for the therapy, the virus HIV die when they is living out of the body. Hepatitis C, on those time, 2010, was survived out of the body 24 hours. Today, 14 years later, the virus survived 72 hours out of the body. You can see, and that's why viruses, bacteria are mutated and are stronger and stronger. And that's why when it is coming epidemics, we are not able to treat by drugs. It's panic. Bird flu, what was that? We treated by cocktail of HIV. Right now, coming MERS.
This is a new threat that just manifested itself recently. Tell us a little bit about what MERS is, why it's so dangerous.
I had last week defense of one of our students, and just of anthrax, what I mentioned. And MERS is another virus, infectious. worse, or worse than, let's say, direct threatening virus infections. In reality, they come from combination from camel, but is certain combination of anthrax. Camels were around when it was stored anthrax, and camel was around in this area because by 1,000 years we didn't have problem. That is human create the problem, and that is the let's see, we investigate right now this situation.
Your very acclaimed approach and your research is of great interest to many people. To what extent is your research being implemented at the present time?
Can be implemented any time and is implemented. I make the research out of United States. I publish journals in journals in Europe. Right now, in America, it's possible to implement it any time. However, in the rush world, busy world, all people believe in drugs, and they easy for them to use drug for life than come to laboratory each other day and be treated. That is the problem. Let's see. It is conflict between a pharmaceutical company and a pharmaceutical company try to find a solution, easier way. Vaccine, they try to find vaccine for so many years. I am not, let's say, I don't want to work with pharmaceutical company because they are not interested in treatment, 7 treatment in 14 days. This is not their business. Economically, they are not interested. So implementation is sometimes for doctors who are involved in integrated medicine. Doctors who are charge insurance, they prefer different way, quicker. And sometimes people believe that better to use drug, they're more convenient, they work, than spend in line. Well, treatment, simple. Treatment is approximately 40 minutes each other day.
Well, dialysis also takes time, and people have no choice, so they do that. But I do understand your point that pharmaceutical companies prefer, and maybe many doctors do as well, treatments that are as convenient as dispensing pills rather than a detailed program of treatment. Right.
And medicine, I believe right now, when I was working overseas also in Thailand on my research, that more lot of Arabs from Saudi Arabia patients coming to Thailand, and they are more interested in integrated medicine than in Western only medicine, because Thailand tried to combine Western and Far East medicine, because they believe that our medicine, Western medicine, is very important in treatment severe disease.
It's sensible for people to be open-minded to taking the best of both worlds. I'd like to ask you, before we conclude, we are running out of time, I'm afraid. My question to you is, your plans for the future. You're with USAT, you have the Einstein Institute. What are your plans for the future?
Very good question, because I want to implement to America, because a lot of people right now turn to integrated medicine instead only using the pills. And my plan is to educate more physicians by our parallel program, MD and PhD. And because I want that they, PhD, they are addicted to research, not only to be middlemen between pharmaceutical company and patients. So this approach, when the medical doctor has also a PhD degree, that he has different vision of his work.
Very interesting. I want to thank you very, very much, Professor Einstein. A real pleasure to have you with us again. And we have to do this again in the future and pick up where we left off. Thank you, sir. I'll be right back.
Thank you very much.